we decided to document the presentation of the project because Erik walked in and I said, sit, we're going to tell you about it. And we decided to document it. But actually, you've heard just a glimpse of what Juan told you. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you about why we decided to do something and what thing we decided to do. So the climate change crisis, people call it climate change because they don't want to say crisis. There's this anxiety that comes from the powerlessness that we feel that we know something's wrong and we're not acting. And I've been interested in the subject forever. And because of my own work, which is counseling people around the world with various things, just strategies, not marketing strategies, people strategies, movement to population, decision-making in politics, military, law enforcement, just counseling, okay? And it gave me a vision of just looking at it, okay, what's wrong? What's going on with the project? Because we have the tools, we have some tools to resolve the climate change. However, it doesn't produce profit. It sinks in money. So think about it. I go to the doctors and I'm not going to receive money from the doctor and medicine. I'm going to have to pay the doctor and get medicine. Well, especially in some countries without a public service, but usually, you understand what I mean. It costs money, either to me, a government, or whatever. It costs money to heal me, okay? Mm-hmm. So the court world made a fortune while causing the climate change problem, emitting all these greenhouse gases. Now they want to make money, not a fortune, but they want to make money with the solution, with the idea of, I'm going to ask the doctor to give me money and medicine. And that doesn't work. And the proof is we have so much study, so much tools, so much stuff that actually works, but we're not doing it. Every year, we're putting around 2 billion tons of CO2 in the atmosphere in excess, which worsened the problem. A cataclysmic cascade started, meaning we learned sometimes just 20, 30 years ago that once in a rare while, once per year, once for 2 years, there was a little cataclysm that destroyed a village, or destroyed a city that caused problems, that killed people. Now it's every month, every 3 weeks. Actually, if you take those who were considered cataclysmic, and the cataclysmic cascade is cataclysms that participate in the manifestation of others, like a domino, okay? Like the planet is heating up, that causes deserts to expand. So you hear about people who stop the desert from expanding, but that's the very zoomed in part where they succeed, and everywhere else the desert is taking huge spaces where there was no desert before. And that means less farmland. So because there's more and more people, let's say Sahara in Africa, there's more and more people everywhere around the world, but mostly the desert in Africa is the one that is suffering a cataclysmic cascade where there's less farmland, but there's more people. So what we have to do, we have to import food from elsewhere. So they have to transport it. That means the food price rises around the entire planet, not just localized, because in the end, global markets. You've noticed that the price of food has doubled in the last 2 years. 2 years, double. Not everything, but just 90% of a product. You take a bottle of oil at 10 euro is now 25 euros, the same bottle. Everything. Why? There's many reasons. One of those is desertification. So the price of food augments because you have to transport it. And by transporting it, you burn more fuel. By burning more fuel, the value of fuel around the entire planet raises because fuel is global. It's not a resource that fuel in Canada, fuel in Spain, fuel in Denmark. No, it's a global, where there's fuel, they put it everywhere else, okay? So it's a global product. It's a necessity in this moment, okay? So the price of fuel augments, the price of fuel augments, and the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere augments because we have transport food more. The augmenting of the CO2 in the atmosphere causes the desert to become hotter. That removes more farmland. You have the cascade, domino. Sometimes we say the catacade, but the cataclysmic cascade is what makes people understand the relationship, that the worse it gets, the faster it gets worse. It's exponential, slowly, but it's exponential. So there was a lot of, like we've heard in the climate change world, the date 2050. But 2050 is a date that was found in 1982. So that was a while ago already. Almost, that was, That was a while ago, okay? 50 years ago, whatever. So it's a problem that we know exists since the 1800s, but we know that it's critical. It's a crisis since 1982, where all the climate change and the greenhouse gas effect came out, okay, in the public, and a lot of personalities starting to say we need to do something about it, and we did nothing. So in 2015, a lot of countries got in Paris to do what, the Paris Accord on climate change. So they talked about it for 1 year, a lot of specialists, a lot of bringing new information, and we've signed, 154 countries signed in 2016, the Paris Accord for climate change. And we did nothing. So we just signed papers that says we're going to do something. But, I mean, what can we do? We did nothing. It's not because we didn't really do nothing. Everyone is studying how. But in 1982, we had to start now. And now there are efforts being done, but these efforts suck 100,000 tons of CO2 per year, and we're producing 2 billion. I mean, we're so far from the mark. So I studied, I spoke to so many people, and you know what? I was surprised. I thought that in government, in the corporation, all the boards of directors, and all the very rich people, the 1%, that they were all just greedy bastards wanting all the money for themselves. And I realized how many of them are conning careful people, really preoccupied. Most of those I spoke to, they want to do something. But the system is built in a way that prevents anyone from progressing. Okay? Now, there's reason why. I can explain it later. But, I'll shoot it in 20 seconds. When people elect a government, they elect them for food, jobs, healthcare, education, and put asphalt in the streets. And there's 2 guys in the back with green flags, environment. But the people, the governments are elected and put in power for specific needs. And if the governments do not fulfill these needs because they did something else with the money, they're not going to get reelected anyway. So we can't ask the government to do anything, because as much as we shall do something about it, we've told much more clearly to the government we want all the other products first. Okay, so it's not the fault of the government. It's the general population's request. Okay, corporate world, they want to do something. Okay, but the thing is, okay, all these corporate, they made money doing the problem. Now it's you who's supposed to do it. But the thing is, some of us have a retirement plan. I don't have it. I'm putting it all in this project. Okay, I'm at zero. I'm literally just above poverty in my country. Okay, because I put everything I can into how to help humanity in this sense. But the corporation, you have a retirement plan, you have investments, you have investment in some places. If they stop giving you interest on these investments, you're the first person who's going to take your money away and put it somewhere where they give you. Okay, so all these corporations, they're giving dividends to their shareholders, and if they stop, their business will collapse. So saying it's the fault of all of these board directors and all these rich people, actually the population are the first people who are going to take away all our shareholdings, imposing on them to keep giving dividends to the shareholders, because this is the retirement plan of absolutely everyone that's making interest. So the world has locked them in a situation where they can't invest in the climate change. So now you have, someone comes a week ago, 2 weeks ago, but their green placement change, there's green plans. You can invest with your counselor, your fiscalist, whatever, your finance guy to do green placements and programs. Yeah, okay. It doesn't mean that they're healing the world. It just means they're trying their best to put less carbon in the atmosphere. It's minor. Yes, we should invest in green investment. We should, because at least they're doing what they can. But the moment they stop giving interest because they put too much money on resolving the problem, it's over. You just take your money and put it somewhere else where they will give interest. So the population has locked the corporation in a balance where they have to give as much as they can in interest to the shareholders and as much as they can in doing their part for the climate change. And it's extremely minimal. And it's not the responsibility of anyone. It's the government can't do it. Corporations can't do it because the population doesn't realize they're the one greedily asking a maximum without investing anything. Let's continue. Someone coughs, and I was holding mine for 5 minutes.
I can feel it coming.
No, it's the same thing that with the governments that we were talking before, how we complain about the governments asking for something that they cannot do. So we have to take responsibility of this.
There's the children's syndrome, not very popular. When you have parents, you say, give me this, give me that, and everything is wrong is your fault. So we go out, we grow up and become young adults, and now we find other parents. But we're still children saying, government do this, corporation do that. We're still hoping for others to give us everything. And if anything is going wrong, it's the government's fault.
Yeah.
Okay? And we put a lot of energy not resolving our adulthood. That's pretty hard to hear, but the thing is, we're still hoping for others to resolve it so I can still have all my luxuries. So I realized the fact that the solutions we have do not generate profit, no one is doing it. Or actually, I'm impressed. There's a lot of corporations investing a bit, but it is a fraction of what, like there's a new thing that will suck 30 million tons of CO2 per year, a new project, but it's awaiting financing. But they have the idea. 30 million tons of CO2 per year is a fraction of the 2 billions we're putting, but it's there.
Yeah.
Let's do that one. And once it works, let's do another one. Let's do it 1,000 times and you cover 3 billion. Because in order, now we're putting 2 billion per year. To repair the damage, we have to suck more than double of that every year to heal it, because the goal is not to stay status quo. Okay? Another aspect, there's a absolute folly. It breaks my marbles when people don't understand the science behind it. Okay, there's mythology lately that planting trees is useless. So let's stop this. Okay, because of articles that were published in the Science magazine in 2019, 2021, doesn't matter. But the latest science that says if we cover the planet with trees right now, if we cover every square meters, like every 2.5 square meters with a tree, we're not sucking enough carbon for the entire emissions we have. Therefore, planting trees is not a solution. And so the ecological world just went, let's stop planting trees. Oh my God, the misinterpretation, the misunderstanding of this is absolutely insane. If we plant trees and they don't suck as much carbon, they're still slowing down the process. Okay, so everyone says, let's go towards zero emission. Let's produce zero emission technology. Okay, I'm going to tell you what zero emission technology is. It's a technology where no one is putting any more, so we're not putting 2 billion tons per year anymore, okay? So we'll stop progressing worse. That is the equivalent of having a cancer patient in phase 3, and you say to that cancer patient, hey, just when you're about to go to phase 4, we're gonna keep you in phase 3 where all the vertigo, the vomiting, the nausea, but at least you're not gonna die. You're just gonna stay cancerous forever. Zero emission is not enough. Zero emission is absolutely essential, and resolving the excess greenhouse gas is essential. We have to both. And also with planting trees, because the in-house project of AtmoCare is, if you just plant a tree we have today, in the soil we have today, the soil has been deforested, you know, like the deforestation industry that took all the wood. There are enormous spaces that had forests that currently is just grass. Why? Because the soil is so compacted that only weeds grow there. We call them Congo weeds. And trees cannot take root. So I have to rebuild the soil. It's too expensive. No one's going to do it. But if you put back the fertilizer, you put the mycelium, you put the bacteria, you put back the seeds, you rebuild the undergrowth, then you're not planting trees. You're deploying a forest. It's another mentality. Now, this is just an example. So botanists in their backyard have 20 to 50 square meters, are super happy. They invest a ton of money as a hobby, like where others is supercomputers and video games, others will buy a Jeep or whatever to do some freestyle in the road. And for them, it's their garden. And their garden, the plants grow so fast. They're huge. They're perfect because they pamper their soil like a baby. Let's do 100 hectares of that, 1 million square meters of that. Oh, it's way too expensive. I mean, it took all my budget just to do 20 square meters. But this forest would suck carbon from the atmosphere up to 6 times what others just plant trees in dead, depleted soil. Okay, there's a way to do it. It's just no one wants to put the money. Why? Because it's expensive. Yeah. Well, you know what? Dead people don't play video games. Dead people don't enjoy the next meal. It's the idea of this is the consequence. I'm not an apocalyptical, fatalistic person. The climate change crisis is so much more dramatic than what the common person knows. So much more dramatic. However, there's so much hope. All the solutions are there. But it's all about, where's my money? And someone else has to do it. It's all that. So the goal of AtmoCare is to say, look, the solutions that work, no one else is going to do it. Stay angry at who should do it. But we have to do it ourselves. So I figured, I made calculation because I'm trying to, let's calculate. Well, what's the cost of doing this, and that, and what's the cost of not doing it? So when people look at the cost of how much money we have to invest every year to slowly shift the balance and be in the negative emission so the entire humanity can heal, to give time to the technological world to produce a zero emission technology. So we have cars that don't produce carbon, that we will have fields. People talk about cows. Cows fart methane. It's bad for the environment. The worst part of agriculture that produces greenhouse gas is growing vegetables, by the way. Okay, it's not the cows. Just people don't know about it. Because all the fertilizer in the world is made by petrol. So when they say, like, the nitrogen is extracted from petrol base, okay? So when people say, don't eat cows, they fart methane, and then go eat carrots, you're emitting more carbon dioxide with your veggies than what a cow. No, it's more or less equivalent. It's hard to compare because of but still, like, stop blaming who does what, and just realize we need solutions like a fertilizer that won't be made by petrol, or a fertilizer made by petrol that didn't emit CO2 in the process of fabrication. There's ways to do it, but we have to stop wanting others to resolve it. There are so many solutions. The transport, the planes, there's ways to do it, but where's my money? All the time, it's all that. AtmoCare, the goal of AtmoCare is to get as much people as we can to give from $10 to $100 per month, according to everyone's capacities. If someone cannot put $10 per month, don't. Those who are less capable, those who are struggling to pay their bills, should not have to have this stress. When, for you, $10 is less than your Netflix, Disney Plus, Prime, Amazon, whatever, like all the, your AI assistants that you pay. It's less than a subscription to your entertainment. Okay? It's a few coffees at the shop at the corner store. For a few dollars per month, spread over 1 million people. Let's start with 100,000, okay? That give only 10 instead of 100. Even I could give more, but others have to do it. But it's fine. It's fine if you participate. Then we have $1 million per month, and there's already 9 projects that I know where to put that money. Like, let's do this, and that. All the numbers, the Excel sheets, and the complication, the logistics around the world, the planetary solutions. I've done calculation, and with calculations, you have to redo them when you actually have the money, because things change. And also plans, it's a direction, but then you adapt to the reality. I know that. I've done that all my life. But we can do something about it. We can start. If you have 1 million people to say, hey, they're really doing something, we've seen results, then it grows like, oh, AtmoCare is really doing something. And instead of asking a few people to pay more, let's ask more people to pay less and spread the weight and say, wow, it's just $120 or euro per year. It's not going to kill me. It's okay. I'll pay for my family. Let's go with 40 per month because it's for my family. I want to feel I take part. Then we take that money and we finance the entire operation, and it's going to be resolved long term. We've been doing this since early 1800s, okay? In 1800s, there was 200 parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere. Now there's 440 parts per million. So we've more than doubled the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. And there's way much in that, because when there's CO2 in the atmosphere, it goes into the ocean, which makes the ocean acid. It's because it takes, okay? So when we start cleaning the atmosphere, it will stay at 440 because that's the saturation point. But the CO2 will come out of the ocean and back in the atmosphere. So we'll be deacidifying the ocean, for example. All of this is a chain that you need to know about, like the mechanics of the environment to, it's not required for you to know. He's a communication guy. He doesn't need to know it. But I'm sure he's interested anyway. Wouldn't be here, right? Sometimes I talk to one, he says, that looks very interesting, Frank, but Francois. But what was that again about this monocarbonate that you feel, is
so many details.
I mean, I know, okay? Like when I talk, I'm the ecology expert when I talk to mundane people. Well, like the common folk outside of the ecology world. When I speak to ecologists, I'm the new guy that doesn't know what he's talking about because I don't have the degrees. I don't have I'm an amateur ecologist. So I'm just interested, and my job is not to understand exactly how the plant will grow. My job is to talk to my botanist who showed me flowers growing through snow, so alive it was in Canada, where usually without his preparation of the soil, it doesn't. Okay, so we've demonstrated our internal project, AtmoCare, we can build a super forest. Well, I mean, we know the plant, we know I have the idea. I have huge organigrams of, how to build a fertilizer without petrol, how to, grow our own mycelium, the bacteria that in the soil, mushrooms, which plant to put with which plant. Like we've got strategies, and it's going to cost that much. We have to finance. So I figured I can tell the world, hey, we need $136 million to do this across the entire planet. Or as the project grows, there's so many people already doing good things. Why should I rebuild a solution? So AtmoCare takes donations and then spread it for our studies. There's an eco-anxiety program also, but all the other projects that we feel, yes, it costs money, but it's proven to give results. So we want to do two things. Results that clearly we're doing something good, but there's no profit to make. Everyone says, we're doing it for humanity. We're not there for a business. We're doing it because we want our children and our grandchildren to eat every day in 50, 60 years. That's the point, And there's also the science where we want to refine the current methods. We also want to find new methods.
Yeah, either we break this link with always wanting to make profit with the corporations and companies or whatever for the world works somehow. Either we break it and we open a foundation, that is the idea of AtmoCare, to create a foundation where people can donate us money, or if not, we are not going to reach this 2050 about what all the politics, they were talking out as well, So all of this project is to slow down all of this process, and at the same time, it's not only about us saving the humanity; it's about having a contribution, So we are going to do it. We are open as well to others, and we are going to help others as well to develop ideas that they have.
Yeah. Anyone who says, I have the solution, I'll save the world, this is a megalomaniac. Is someone who is just me. Because there's a lot of people who says, I have a solution, I'll do it. What I've learned is that we need diversity. We need a lot of people. And when I created AtmoCare, I made sure I don't need to feed my own solution because I think it's the best one. I need to look at what solution currently work and help them, because with more financing, they would immediately do something that I need 2 years to install mine. So let's do it now. And as there's enough money for our science, our research to demonstrate, we're going to have a success, then let's do ours also, because we have to do a lot of different things. There are solutions right now, which the amine towers, basically they extract, it's called direct capture. They extract carbon directly from the atmosphere. They suck it with fans and they have CO2 and they put us in tanks. That's carbon capture, but it's not carbon sequestration. Now you have this tank, what do I do with it? Do I put it in the ground? Like, how do I dispose of this? It becomes, that too has a cost because it's capture and sequestration. It's two different things. So there's a cost for the capture and there's a cost for the sequestration, okay? So if we only do the amine towers, because it's a machine, it works, then we'll have a planet that looks like the Star Wars Coruscant. Everything is machines around the planet. Like, remove the forest because planting trees don't work and build machines that extract the CO2. Do you understand? There's a nonsensical thing where we're just going to go focus machine. But the machines that cost a lot of money are actually the efficient way right now. However, every solution we find has a side effect. Once you have the machinery, then you have, okay, so everything is made of steel and cement. The steel and the cement that build the machine emitted CO2 while it was emitting. So you have to deduct the carbon cost of the machines you're building. Most people don't know, producing electricity with a windmill, the big windmill, okay? They say, yeah, so we don't emit carbon. There's enough carbon dioxide emitted from the burning of the steel to make one windmill for the entire lifetime of that windmill in carbon footprint. The reason why we have to do it anyway is because then you don't have to transport that energy. It's local. It's right there and it fuels the local grid. So you save on transportation of the fuel to one place to another. But the carbon footprint of a windmill, the eolian, the wind energy, like there's stuff that people don't realize, don't know. That what's the cost? Like those who do carbon capture, there's a consequence to that. So if we have one technology and we only do this one, the side effect will be dramatic because it will be the only side effect we have. If we have 17 different technologies, they each have a minor side effect that each will not impact the whole, the entire biome of the earth, if you want, in the same magnitude. And then each of these side effects, we can circulate them together. Like one of the possibilities is to grow algae, a specific type of algae. It's called blue-green. It is very efficient in carbon capture in the ocean. But once you have enough, you can take that. It deacidifies the ocean. You can take all of the biological matter and put it in the compost as a base for fertilizing the forest, okay? Then it's a chain, becomes a chain. Then we mine the minerals to go and put in our bassins for the algae. Okay, then there's ways to involve everything to diminish the side effect and augment the positive effects. But not a single of those solutions will have no side effect, none of it. Okay, even deploying a forest, it has a side effect. We need to transport it, okay? So we have to think in those terms. What is the benefit as opposed to the consequence? There are regulations to follow also, a lot of regulation. If I want to have a well to draw water from the ground, to nourish my greenhouse where I'm growing the trees that I will plant next year, okay? So just growing 700,000 trees to cover 100 hectares. Well, it's not 700,000 trees. It's 200,000 trees plus the bushes, plus all the minor plants. There's a lot of things. But we need a permit to extract water from the ground. And then the amount of water we'll extract from the ground, one deployment center requires 80 million liters of water per year. So that water is not available for all the farmers around. So we need to think about all the impact of our project. And that's how I look at every project. When people say, hey, we have a solution, okay. Then I start asking the question that don't really, it's not that they don't want to answer, it's they know that they've not covered that aspect. Hey, what about this energy? Okay, how much does it cost to transport your solution? Where you put your carbon afterwards? How, it's a big chain. In the end, it all comes back like we could have perfect solution if we had unlimited funding, but we don't. So it always comes back to where's my money? But at least you've received the pitch. AtmoCare is about gathering as much funding as we can from all people who are concerned, who says, I'm going to stop blaming people, or I'm going to keep blaming them, but I'm not going to wait for others to resolve it. And I'm going to do my part. And then we diversify the portfolio to the research and the application that we believe is functional in function of a global scope of what is the consequence, knowing there's always one. So yeah, but we're going to do it and, see where it goes. So that's the plan. That's AtmoCare in a nutshell. That's a big little presentation on stop waiting for others to do it because they're not doing it. Is it because they can't? Because they don't want to? Because they're greedy? I mean, they're not doing it. It's a fact. So let's do it together. That's cool, huh? That's right here.
All right.
Yeah.
Simple, just like 30-second pitch right there.
Well, it's hard to do it in, for the advertising later. This is just a documented, this is the first time you hear it.
Yeah.
And then Juan told me, Maha, every time, Maha is my writer's name. Francois, every time you present it, you have to redo it again. Every time we meet lawyers, we meet experts, we need, everyone. It's like you have to re-explain everything. It's a 20-minute. Now we have a little video where just throw it. The level of complexity, the logistics of deploying a planetary level solution is where people just go, oh, it's too much for me.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's not scary. It's big, but I'm not going to be alone. I'm just going to produce the data, tell people how to do it. Then you have the typical greedy things like, okay, so when you do your research, how are you going to protect your ideas? Okay, typical reflex. I don't want to protect my ideas. I want absolutely everyone to take them. They're not stealing it. I want them to use them. If I have an idea, because we did the research, now we've done the preliminary research. It's called backyard research, but basically it's botanists that use a specific formula that is new. That's like botany evolves. It costs a lot of money, so that's why even botanists that came out of school didn't hear about it, but it's out to pamper like little babies, give them maximum vitamins and all that stuff for the trees. They just explode inside. And then they're adults in 3 years instead of 10. So an adult tree sucks carbon so much faster. And then the choice, we're also gonna produce new trees. So then we have to go through the regulations of every country that will accept that we deploy them, that they're good for the soil, that they're not an invasive species. There's a million things, the legal, There's 3 lawyers amongst the 9 people of the admin board of AtmoCare. There's 3 lawyers, and they just keep. But Francois, that's a contract. We have to. Yeah, I know. We have to sign contract.
Yeah, I think it's very important to the community in the videos that we are going to do.
Well, that's where you come in.
Yeah.
Can we pause down here for a second for the camera?
Yeah, I mean, I thought this is going to be not the video.
Oh, it could be. I just want to make sure that